next time I put cauliflower on it. I don't know if it'll be good, but that will make up for it. So maybe it looks better from this way though, I think. I was looking at it and I'm like, oh, it looks better with the chocolate pieces. But I don't know. Anyway, I'm going to talk about what keeps you alive. That got top of the stack from me. The Rockford Files, Season 6. This was Volume 3. And then so the Zombie Club. And I guess James is going to talk about those things a bit.
Your previews, they take a while to go through. A very nice person bought the crossword puzzles.
Oh, yeah.
For me.
Oh, somebody bought you those.
Yeah, when she was on a trip to Europe.
Oh, Kathy did.
That's Pauline's sister.
I'm not supposed to say Kathy's name because she doesn't like me talking about her. She's
so you notice I didn't mention her name, but
yeah,
if she's watching,
I made a mistake.
I'm thinking of her and great appreciation.
I just thought you'd pack those along because James buys them for himself.
See, that's how good. Well, it's been a long time since I bought one. The place that I used to buy them from, I used to be in Third, and they were still here when Copper was alive, but they moved. And when they moved, they stopped getting the crossword puzzles. So that's been.
They'd probably start getting them again if you showed up there.
I did, you know, when they first moved in there, and they just weren't interested. So that's okay. You know, just say, oh, that's okay.
It's too warm to wear.
Maybe.
She gave me this jacket, which I'm very thankful for, but it's too warm right now to wear it.
Yeah, so it's
probably tomorrow it won't be too warm to wear it.
It's probably pretty complicated to get the stuff ordered in from Europe. They actually don't. Well, they don't. They have the price in here for lots of places. Some of them. They don't include Canada. It would involve shipping that they wouldn't be doing ordinarily. They have lots of European countries in here.
So I'm drinking Earl Grey tea, which I really shouldn't because it'll probably give me a headache, but I thought, well, if I have just one cup, because lately I've been eating some things that...
If I just have one headache, it's okay.
Because lately I've been eating things that I thought for sure would give me a headache, and they didn't, so...
So that's amazing, because you had an amazing amount of icing, as I did.
Yes.
After our walk, not yesterday, but the day before.
And I didn't get a headache.
That was, I'm just shocked you didn't get a headache.
So many things cause headaches for me, so I stay away from them. But lately, like I went to visit my family, and whenever I'm at my mom's house, then she gets this French vanilla instant coffee that I guess I associate it with being at her house. Because I said to my sister, I don't know why I'm able to resist this, you know, because I packed this along for James, this cake, and yet I made myself the instant coffee, and my sister was like, well, that's because that's what you do while you're here. You drink that instant French vanilla coffee, and so it didn't give me a headache somehow. I only let myself have a cup a day, so maybe that's it, but I'm going to see with the Earl Grey if I can get away with it, but I don't know. If I can't, that's okay. It's might be good to find out. So the Earl Grey came from the library. They're I don't know, they have different things that they're doing. I think it's all from that one lovely young woman, the one who likes Taylor Swift.
She's very nice.
She's very nice. And
I'm not talking about Taylor Swift, although she's probably very nice.
I have no idea. I've never met her. But
the person who arranges things like the Taylor Swift.
Yeah. So I think it's all coming from her. I think the tea thing, you know, there's different little events that are kind of nice. So
seems like a monthly event, or maybe even more frequently. But yeah.
Oh,
she tries to make them special.
She seems to be doing things all the time, and she's doing a good job of it.
Yeah, she makes the stuff interesting.
Yes. So.
What did we go? It was for.
It was a potluck.
Yeah. So bring your own.
Yeah.
Food and recipe. I think they were interested in the recipe.
And
sharing the recipe.
I probably won't go again, you know, because one, I don't know how many people would want to eat the kind of food that I cook, but that's not the most. It's just being vegetarian, you know, it's...
Was it a vegetarian? No, there
that
wasn't.
One was.
It was, and that's
yeah.
why we went.
That's why we went.
We don't, you know, like to shove the vegetarianism in,
no.
or in my case, just go vegetarian stuff in people's faces.
No. So
by the same token, I'm not terribly appreciative when vegetarians are made fun of in standard media, like in comedy and stuff like that. When, wow, okay.
So James has some Earl Grey in his cup too. So we'll see if he wants that. But Earl Grey was always my favorite tea. And then I guess my second favorite was jasmine green tea. But that one, I tried that a little while ago and headache. So can't do that one. But I'm going to see about Earl Grey if I can have a cup of that. So we'll see. Maybe I should just try a few sips first and see if it sets me off. Maybe I should let James have the rest of it. But anyway, what keeps you alive? This is, I mean,
pretty gruesome.
Well, it's a horror movie. I got both of these off of the horror movie display case, which I think is awesome. At the another thing that they've done at the library is they have one little thing where they'll say westerns or whatever, and they'll feature western movies. And then another, after a little while, you know, they give that, I don't know how long, maybe a week or something. But surely they'll give the horror movies all October, one would think. You know, given it's Halloween coming up. But who knows? Anyway, so they put up a bunch of different, they'll put up one thing, like maybe sci-fi or whatever. But anyway, so this time it's horror movies, so I've been grabbing some horror movies off the shelf because it's easy and I haven't seen these, so.
And you always liked horror, thriller type of shows, right? Or
yeah,
at least when you were
well, I don't know, I watched them.
Well, you like Stephen King when you were
yeah. So anyway, I'm not into the gruesome stuff though. Like if it's gore, it's just gross, and it honestly.
You just like it scary.
I like it scary.
Yeah.
So it depends what the horror movie is. If it's the gore kind, I don't like that. It's gross and frankly boring. I don't. It does nothing for me. So anyway, but different people like different things. So. Both of these movies are sort of, they have this indie sort of feel to them. You know, I kind of low budget, whatever. But if you've watched my reviews before, that doesn't matter to me. If they can manage to make the thing work with little money and whatever, then awesome. That's great. That maybe thrills me even more than people who throw millions of dollars into something and it's just why. So anyway, I would say both of these are actually worth watching. I'll talk about this one a little later. It got the bottom of the stack, but it's really, it has a kind of after school special feel to it, and for a horror movie, I don't know. Anyway, it didn't work as well for me, and I'll talk about that in a little bit. So this one, What Keeps You Alive, is really well done, actually. They didn't have to put a lot of money into it. One thing that really matters to me when if you can't manage to pull off a really great movie, at least give me some great scenery, because I'm going to be watching it for an hour and a half. You may as well, if it's not great scenery as in terms of landscape or whatever, then maybe artfully filmed scenes of places, or like it could be just dumpy places, but if it's artfully captured, then that might do it too. That might work. But this, you have some beautiful scenes. So it looks like around, you know, what's that rocky place, you know, where we went in Ontario and with the big rocks, the big rocks.
You mean like around Kenora?
Yeah.
Well, you mean the park where we went?
No, it just looks like that. It looks like that area, you know, with the lakes and the big rocks.
I mean like the Canadian Shield, is that what
Yep.
you're talking about?
That's what it looks like. So it's very beautiful. And I mean, there's so many beautiful places in Canada. I feel very lucky that I'm a Canadian, that I was born here and I get to live in Canada because it's so beautiful here. There's many beautiful places in Canada. But anyway, so more movies should be made here. There's so many beautiful places to film movies in. And anyway, so this movie is, there's some things, this was put out in 2018, it says, and it's Canada made movie. Awesome Canada. So there are some things about it that I thought, gee, it could have been so much better if they just tweaked this, because you know what, should I say weapon? I guess weapon is going to end up being used in the end. And they always say, like they say about don't bring a gun into a movie unless it's going to be used later on. So if you see a gun at the beginning of the movie, you know it's going to be used later on or whatever. But it should be with any sort of potential weapon. You see it early on, it's going to be used later on, right? You should expect that. And if you're making a film, you shouldn't put it there if it's not going to be used later on. But they made this work. So you see something and you're like, oh well, that's going to be used later on, and it turns out that's the weapon. That's the big weapon, the big finale weapon, and it's great. But I think it would have been better had it been used without the consequences that it, you know, I don't want to give away the movie, but the one woman could have just not been around when that weapon was being used. And now I don't know if I kind of gave it away, but and I guess she really wasn't, but she didn't have to be where she was. Boy, that was tough to try to do that without giving away the movie. But that's the only problem I had with it. I would have liked a slightly different ending. But top quality. Good job. I was really surprised by this movie. Very good. So, you know, I've been going through the Rockford Files and loving every minute of it. And
lover boy. Quoting, I never thought I'd hear the day.
But anyway, so this is volume 3 of the 6th and final season of Rockford. And I didn't care for it that much as the other Rockford stuff. So it ended up getting second in the stack, but it would have anyway. Even if it would have been the first Rockford season, it probably still would have been under What Keeps You Alive, because that one, they did the job. So, I mean, Rockford, they did the job too, but movies, TV, right? I'm probably going to expect more from movies than I am from TV. Is that the way with you too? So movies are, if they do the work and they can get it across in an hour and a half, well, I'm probably going to rate them higher than a TV series, right?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
It's just movies have become such a drivel that now, in order to get something like artistic thrills, you got to watch TV.
Yeah.
But a lot of it goes on and on and on.
Mm-hmm. So, the Zombie Club. Now, this should remind you of another movie. So this one was put out in 2019, and you're watching it, and the kids, they're high school kids, and they're from all different sort of cliques, high school cliques,
Oh,
and
like skids
and they
jocks and
they
stuff
end
like
up
that?
getting detention, and it's on the weekend. They get a weekend detention.
I've never
And
heard
then-
of weekend detention, but that would be
No,
awful.
you haven't, but you have in one movie.
There we go.
Yeah. And so there's one very popular movie that already you should be thinking, oh, this is like that. And then all of a sudden they decide something happens during detention, which it makes this movie actually more interesting than the movie they're sort of parodying a little bit. But something happens. And they all decide, okay, we're going to have to meet together. So let's meet before class on Monday morning, right? Before school starts. And at breakfast time, right? So that should be right then. You're like, oh yes, that's totally what they're trying to play with here. But anyway, there's some things about this that, like I said, it's kind of after school special. I mean, there's these kids, they end up with sort of superpowers from what they were exposed to, and they're all different kinds of superpowers, which I think is kind of silly but cute. I mean, spoofing off of other movies, right, that have the same sort of thing, right? It's funny how little dogs, sometimes they just seem like they're really being tortured or something. When they bark. That one doesn't. That sounds like an excited bark. But anyway,
I'm just going to check and see
if it's the little black one. Yeah.
Reminds me of a little black dog.
Yeah, James's special little Paris. So he calls this little dog Paris. But anyway, so yeah. Then
Very
this.
much. It's the Chihuahua.
Yeah, you know her. So.
Even though she only barks.
I know, she doesn't get used to you, which is surprising.
I know, it's kind of surprising. Yeah, Paris was my little shadow. She's a black dog.
Always followed him around.
Except when
and
we were
he'd lose her. He'd be like, where's Paris?
Where is she?
She's right behind him. Yeah. So, anyway, then it ends up with this movie. They're saying that, oh, well, we're a club, we're trying to make a club against bullying and whatever, and I don't know, it just, from there it really, it gets pretty, I don't know, just not really my thing. It's just kind of.
I would like to see bullies, even if it's not in real life, get their comeuppance.
Yeah, I know, and they were trying for something really great with this, and honestly, as far as storyline and everything, if they tweak this a little bit, I mean, the acting was all right. You have a bunch of young people, and they actually did an okay job. I mean, not like these guys. These guys, they did a great job, but they did a pretty good job, and with the storyline and everything, they actually had a better storyline than The Breakfast Club, right? So with a little bit of tweaking, they could maybe end up making something less after-school special and more interesting movie. Who knows? So anyway, that's all I really have. I guess James is going to talk about.
I'm going to talk about school, actually, now the subject was raised.
Okay.
I was listening to CBC the other day. I mean, by accident. I don't listen to stuff. I've heard enough of it, actually, for years. I just wanted it not to blow away. That's why I put the one in the other.
I'll give you more, and then I don't have to worry about headache as much.
Anyway, CBC, I don't know, special, was it with, Chat High or something like that. Anyway, there was a teachers union representative and a teacher as well. At least a former teacher, maybe president, complaining about being where he came from, down the Maritimes somewhere, maybe New Brunswick, maybe Maritimes generally. 50% of the teachers are reporting being abused, either sexually or physically, or both, by students. by principals or something like that.
Yeah.
Fellow teachers, yeah, students.
Hmm.
My out times have changed. I can remember, I'm old enough to remember kids going down every so occasionally and getting maybe some sort of abuse, the strap
Yeah.
and stuff like that. They probably had phased that out by the time you were going through, right?
Yeah.
And I don't believe in the strap, but
No.
you know, it's gone too far the other way because there has to be you know, like implications when people when students resort to violence against other students in particular, but against teachers as well. You can't have teachers running scared of students.
No.
Usually the same people that would be abusing teachers would be abusing fellow students, especially younger, smaller ones. It'd generally be guys abusing girls, women, so on and so forth. Young women.
And I mean, they're saying in this, well, young people, they tend to act the way that they see other people acting. So parents have to beware of how they're raising their children so that they don't become bullies or whatever. But honestly, a lot of people, you know, like if we were looking at Nietzsche.
Nietzsche,
and,
Well, Nietzsche is probably a better way of
well,
saying it.
you know, that's the thing, because I was saying Nietzsche for a long time.
Someone corrected
and
you? Maybe
I
it was
think
me.
you did.
Yeah, no.
Yes. And so then I decided, okay, I'll say Nietzsche.
Yeah.
And then, whatever. Anyway.
Well, here I am kind of correcting you, just so people understand. It's not really correcting, so people understand who you're talking about.
But I don't know. I read things and I don't necessarily know how I'm to pronounce things, which is difficult, especially when James is trying to teach me how to write poetry, and I'm like, okay, well, I think the accent's here, but really it's, you know, it might end up in a different, it is.
Like
because
Takako Falls is really Takako Falls.
Apparently.
I've never heard it someone
and
say it.
So I didn't know, and I got it wrong recently. And then what do? I mean, if you're writing poetry, well, back to the drawing board, because you can't, the rhythm is essential. So you can't just say, okay, well, I'll just pronounce it correctly now and in the same poem. Well, no, you got to rewrite the whole thing. That's just the way it is.
That one poem you used it several times.
I did.
And I was going, she's gone out of line. Because she asked me, like, and I said, I don't know, but I gave her what I'd been using. Turned out to be wrong. That's what.
Oh, is that what happened?
Yeah. You asked. You were really smart. You asked about it. I said I didn't know.
Didn't work. So, anyway, but back to Nietzsche. So, you have some people who they think, oh, well, being gentle and kind and passive, that makes you a better person, right? So, they would be teaching their children along those lines. But then you have other people that being tough and being a leader and being aggressive, that makes you a better person. So what do? I mean, you have different people from different cultures that all, you know, they have different ideas of what makes you a good person, what makes you so
we even have subcultures. There's kind of like a subculture in hockey. That's what Don Cherry sort of. It started before even Conn Smythe. He was a coach for the Toronto Maple Leafs. He was quite successful, and he might have won 3 Stanley Cups in a row actually back in the day. And his philosophy was, if you can't beat them in the alley, you can't beat them on the ice. As it turns out, there's a better philosophy, which is fire wagon hockey. And it was exemplified back in the day by the Montreal Canadiens and in the 80s by the Edmonton Oilers, which is, the Oilers had some greasy players, I gotta say, back in the 80s, but they had the people that really won things for them, and that wasn't Mark Messier. He's a greasy player. Now, although he could play fire wagon hockey, he's a mean guy. You just skate away from people who want to beat you up, and on the ice, if they want to plaster you into the boards, you just say, you're like the Roadrunner. Nya, 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 nya. Or what would say, beep, boop, beep, beep, or something like that. You miss me. And, you know, the Toronto Maple Leafs, didn't win that many Stanley Cups. The Montreal Canadiens have won more than roughly twice as many as the Toronto Canadiens.
So that's another interesting thing about this movie, really. I mean, the gym teacher, he's an aggressive kind of guy.
Wow, is that on?
And
no, it's
just
usual.
the way, right? And
yeah.
so he's not really respected in this. You know, he's not seen as being a good role model to have or whatever. And you have the one woman, well, young woman, teenager, who she's really book smart, and her superpower just enhances her ability to learn. She ends up being more of the leader of their group. So that's kind of cool. But
well,
not
I think
everybody
that's a good
would see it
idea.
that
If you're
way,
going to
you know?
have a leader, it's best to kind of elect a leader if you're going to have leaders at all. If I were a coach,
well, as much as I don't think that it's really great to have leaders, I think it's everybody has their strong point, right? And so if one person, if their specialty is more in demand, well, they would probably step up to lead in that area or whatever, when it's necessary. But anyway, I don't know really what to do with it, but we're a society in change, and maybe something better will come of it. I don't know.
well,
I think we'll probably end up just bouncing back to something more aggressive in a leadership kind of position, but maybe that's just
a temporary phase.
Yeah.
Maybe people will learn, like the Nazis did in the World War II.
Well, sure. I mean,
the worst ones died. The ones who supported it, I think, basically learned they better keep the trap shut and keep their guns in their holsters.
Yeah.
The communists, unfortunately, didn't learn. The Russian communists didn't learn after losing the Cold War. Went back again, as mean and as dirty as ever under Putin.
Yeah.
We're just a little bit smarter, not really smart.
All right. Well, you have a minute to talk about whatever you wanted to talk about.
So there's a preview. This is something like lift the window. I don't know what verlicht means in Afrikaans, but it's a translation into Afrikaans from a guy who moved to Michigan in English. Anyway, it has an assessment of the people in these highlighted pink countries. Wrong color, it should be blood red, almost all of them. The chances for Christianity to just try to spread the gospel, not spread the gospel, try to live with the gospel message. So many of these places, we're supposed to tolerate the religions here. They don't tolerate Christianity there, they don't tolerate other religions there, and that includes the communist religions, okay? So belief systems, they don't. And I don't believe in tolerating intolerance. If they don't tolerate other belief systems, then we shouldn't have to tolerate their